Hey everyone, it's Leanne here. Welcome to another video at my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to show you how I created a baby girl shower card using the +1 stamp set from Lawn Fawn. So to begin, I've cut a card base using an A2 card size, and I cut a pink strip of linen paper, and this is 2 3/4 inch wide. And then I've cut a piece of vellum to go over that paper, and that's 2 3/8 of an inch wide. And so I'm also going to use the sentiment from the +1 stamp set and emboss that on the vellum. And I'm also going to use the Simon Says Stamp Mini Hearts stencil, and that's going to be to decorate the pink linen paper. Now the pink linen paper I picked up at Michael's, and that's just a loose leaf sheet that I picked up there. So I'm going to get this prepared to set up and add the stencil application. So I'm taping this down with frog tape, or this is painter's tape too. It's got a real low adhesion. It doesn't add a lot of stickiness to the page, and it'll help the page stay in place. Now this is the Simon Says Stamp stencil, and this is the mini hearts. This one's really cute. I really love this stencil. And so I'm just lining this up to make sure that where the hearts line up around the edges of the paper is even on the top and the bottom and the left and the right. Once I have that in place, then I'm putting some more frog tape down. Frog tape's really awesome, and you can get a big roll, and you can usually find it on sale, so it works really well for in this instance. Now these palette knives I picked up at Michael's, and I'm going to use texture paste from Ranger as well. And the palette knives came in a package of like I think 5, and it was about $3.99. So I'm going to use the big one. I thought because of the size of the stencil and the way the application will be, I thought that would be the best palette knife to use. So I just scooped a little bit of the texture paste out of the jar, and I'm just pushing that down into the stencil holes. And so for my first layer, I just want to make sure I coat it really well. So I'm just gobbing it on and making sure that everything's covered and all the holes have texture paste in them. Once I've gone through and everything's covered, I'm going to slowly go back and forth and start to pick up that excess. And this way, when I do that and I scrape that wide palette knife over the stencil holes, it'll create a nice even layer at the top for those hearts when it's finished. And I can scoop this right back into the jar, and I was quick to replace the lid too because it does dry pretty fast. It's a nice medium to work with actually. I found that it dried really quickly. I had time to set it, of course. It took probably 10 minutes I think, and then it was completely cured. So it was really nice to work with. So I'm just lifting that up, and you can see all the tiny little hearts on the pink paper, and I just think this is so adorable for a baby card. So I'm going to set that aside while I work on my sentiment part. Now for my ink, I'm using Versamark ink. I believe that, or VersaFine. Versamark is the clear one. So I'm using VersaFine, and that's an embossing ink, so that stays liquidy longer, and it allows you to put embossing powder on the ink. And I'm using this in Onyx Black. So I've stacked the sentiment, it's 3 lines, and I've stacked it up on my acrylic block, and I did a test stamp as well to make sure that everything would look okay when I did it, and I was happy with everything. So I went ahead there and stamped it. And then I'm going to come in with my clear embossing powder because I want my sentiment in black and I stamped it in black ink. I'm just going to use clear to add the glossy texture. So I make sure that when I do put the embossing powder on, I shift it back and forth so that it gets on every little part of the ink, that nothing's left behind. And then I took that into my heat gun and embossed it, and you can see there the clear and the shimmer under the light. So now it's time to stamp my sentiment, and I'm stamping this on Neenah Solar White cardstock in 80 pound. And I am using Memento Tuxedo Black ink for this because I will be coloring it with a COPIC marker. So you can see the colors that I've used here. Now for the little stork, I just wanted to give him a little light shadow, and so I used a colorless blender, and I believe that's B60, that color, pale blue gray. So I just added the shadow, and I still want him to look white because most storks in pictures are white. And then I'm coming in with the beak, and I've got that yellow. And then for the delivery, I wanted to make the bag in pink to match the card and kind of show off the baby girl theme because we do know that this recipient is having a baby girl. So I'm coloring this in nice bright pink colors and just adding the gradients. And I came back in with RV17 and just beefed up those shadow areas a little bit. The pinks that I was using are pretty pale, so I wanted to give a little more dimension to the little pouch. Now when I was done, I came in with my jelly roll pen, a white jelly roll pen, and I added some polka dots to the little bag, and this sort of plays off the stencil as well, the stencil pattern, I guess. So I just went in and lightly tapped my jelly roll pen down onto the little pouch and added the pattern of the jelly roll dots. And this looks really cute too when it was done. So when I had that all ready, I decided to put that through my die cutting machine. And I used some post-it tape just to hold that in place. And that has low adhesion as well, so it's really nice to use for this. So I gently pulled that off and then popped my little stork out. And he's all ready to go. He's really cute. I was super happy with the way he turned out. So now here I'm just deciding how I want my papers to lay, how far up I want my vellum to sit, and where I want my stork to be positioned. Also, too, to mention, for the card base, I'm using a pearlized paper. It's not just a white paper. It's a pearlized white, and I got that at Michael's too. They have a lot of great selection in their loose leaf paper sheets, and so I usually go in there and pick out some nice backgrounds. So I'm adding this down with 2-way tape, and just finding where the center is, and once I'm happy with that, I'm going to place it. Now I have overhang at the top, and I will trim that. I just wanted to make the pink linen a little bit bigger so that I could make a cut that would be flush to my background, so I wouldn't have too short of a page. Because it's easy to trim down, but it's not easy to make it longer. So using my ruler and my X-Acto knife and my cutting mat, I just trim that really nice, and it has a nice flush edge. And so now it's time to figure out the vellum and where I want that to fall and where I want my little stork to sit. And I found with the vellum, it's sort of opaque and it was harder to see the pink and the hearts background. So I really wanted to show that off. So I put it up higher on the card so that more of the pink and the hearts were sticking out of the bottom part below the vellum. Once I found out how to put, or where I wanted that to go, I taped that down with frog tape as well. Now this is a trick I learned in college. If you want to score a paper that might crack, such as a vellum because it's thicker, take the back side of your knife, and in this case I'm using a box cutter, and just very lightly run along that line where you want to make the score. So what that's doing is that's cutting into the paper but not cutting it all the way through. And so then it creates a natural score line and your paper will fold a lot easier and it won't crack. This is a super handy trick and I use this a lot. So I did that here and it worked really well. So I'm just using my tape roller and I'm going to come in and tape that down. I actually have a new tape roller. I got the Scotch tape roller. My mom bought me that for my birthday. Thanks, Mom. And it's pretty awesome. I am getting used to using it. It's a little bit different than the smaller tape rollers, but it's pretty handy. So now what I want to do here is the vellum's popping up in that area where the stork's going to sit. So I just want to tack it down a little bit with some craft glue. And I'm using the end of my X-Acto knife to put some glue dots where the white hearts are and just sticking the vellum in tacked spots on some of the hearts. And it's also going to be behind where the stork is, so you shouldn't see those. But I just found the vellum was popping up a bit and I wanted to have that sit a little bit lower on the paper and also to help the pink hearts show through as well, the pink heart paper. So I put my acrylic block on that to set it to dry, and then while I did that, I worked on putting my foam tape on my little stork here. And so I'm using 3M foam tape for this as well, and that's my favorite foam tape. I love this foam tape. It's super nice to work with. So I've got this guy up on foam tape and I'm just figuring out where I want him to sit on the card. And I have him all in place. And so I'm going to make this a top folding card just to keep with the centric theme of everything being balanced in the center and that vertical line, just to keep that sort of feeling going as well. So I'm just going to stick this down with my foam tape, or sorry, my tape roller as well, just a flush adhesion. So to line this up, all I do is I just stand the cards up together and I center them using the edges of my hand. I make sure the cards are flush with the edges of my hand and then just stick the cards together. And that's the easiest, quickest way to line it up to the cardstock. And so there's my top folding card. So it's just about done, but I have one more little embellishment I want to add. I came in with my Wink of Stella pen, and this is in clear, and I just brushed that over the little pouch. And there you have it. This is my card for a baby girl for a baby shower. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe so you're notified the next time I post a video. Thanks so much for watching.